already got a couple people commenting. Good evening and happy Friday. We rescheduled our regular Thursday night live because there was so much awesomeness going on this week that I needed a little bit of extra time to get ready for my live chat. So let me get to your comments already before I get into our regular part of our day so I can see them. Hello, Will It Grow? Hello, David. Hello, Krista. Hello, Inga. Welcome and thank you for joining me. We've got some regulars tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about why we grow from seed and one of the benefits of growing from seed. Obviously, because we're Mary's Heirloom Seeds. Hey, Indira, thanks for joining me. So before I get started, I always share this information before I get to the main topic of our conversation. So in the description section of this video, you will find a lot of great information. You're going to find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. You're going to see a sign up link for my emails if you'd like to. Hey, who's there? Thank you. I'm so glad you like your Tumblr. I love my Tumblr. Hey, Kay Fisk, thanks for joining me as well. So we recently announced a lot of great information in an email this morning, which is why I mentioned that in the description section, there is a link for our e-newsletter. We don't sell your information. We only send you information for Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So your information is still private. We don't sell it to anybody, but you get great updates. So for example, this morning, I sent information about seed starting basics, a seed starting worksheet, as well as a seed sale that we announced on our Facebook page earlier this week. So if you missed that and you're interested in receiving the information, please sign up. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to go into my office and I'm going to resend that email to anybody that has signed up. So why do we grow from seed? And why do I get so excited about talking about seeds? Obviously, I am Mary at marysheirloomseeds.com, and I love to share information about growing from seed and just seeds in general. Homestead and Crazy, welcome, and thanks for joining us. So yes, growing from seed, if you've never done it before, can be a little intimidating. I've been growing from seed for a very long time. Gosh, 20 years, maybe more, maybe less, but about that. So it comes natural to me, but I'll tell you this, I still kill stuff on accident, but I still have situations where I grow from seed and I get this plant or a seedling that starts growing and something happens. Maybe I forget to water it, but it happens. So don't beat yourself up about it, especially if you're just getting started. Hey, Courtney, thanks for joining us. Every now and then you have your ups and your downs in the garden and when you're seed starting. So I'm always a little bit surprised when I hear that someone has never grown from seed. Hey, I do love seeds too. Because most likely it's because either they're used to buying plants or the process of seed starting is a little bit intimidating. So I have shared this morning about seed starting basics in an email, and hopefully that helps you grow a better garden from seed. But tonight I'm going to talk about the why. Now, I will tell you this. Inga says, I get the biggest kick out of growing from seed. It is so exciting to see those little teeny seeds turn into a little seedling, to turn into a big plant sometimes, and produce some amazing food that we enjoy and that nourishes our bodies. So I just get excited. I just do. But let me tell you about probably one of the biggest reasons that people grow from seed, and maybe not. Maybe it's not why you grow it, but the cost factor in growing from seed. Inga and I have discussed this back and forth quite a few times. She says, I planted over 100 pepper sprouts yesterday and you're up potting your tomatoes. So Inga and I, we've discussed the different back and forth about growing from seed, but I want to give you a little bit of an example for the cost comparison. Growing from seed is cheaper. So let me give you a little bit of an example. One pack of Cherokee Purple tomato seeds at Mary's Heirloom Seeds is just under $3. Now, that has 25 seeds in it. Now, I did a quick Google search because I don't necessarily know what is around me and who might carry plants. So I did a quick Google search and I found a local big box store. They sell a single Cherokee purple tomato plant for $9.98. Yeah, I'm gonna get into the exciting varieties that you can get from seed that you can't buy from plants either. So if I were to buy 25 Cherokee purple tomato plants, it would cost me $249. Now you compare that to buying 25 seeds and planting them. Yes, it will take you a little bit longer, but not a massive outlay of $249 for 25 plants. Let's see what David says. I missed you. Sorry about that. I was going through my seeds yesterday. I have one ammo can storage for seeds for 2023 that I'll be planting and growing. So David's most likely referring to my ammo cans. I store my older seeds, my personal seed stash in these. These are actually from 2022. So some of these will end up going to schools, but I did put them in here just to kind of store them a little bit so they're not on my shelf taking up a little bit of space. So lettuce is another one that is so absolutely easy to grow from seed, and you get a lot of seeds. So are you ready for the cost comparison of growing lettuce from seed versus buying it in starts? So Butter Crunch lettuce seeds was what I wanted to discuss, and that was $2 for a seed pack of 200 seeds. Now, if you've opened a pack of seeds from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, you know that if it says 200 seeds on it, there's probably quite a bit more than 200. So I couldn't find Butter Crunch specifically, so I went with something that was close, and that was Red Romaine. And our seed packs have 100 seeds in, Inga says, and better for lettuce. So I'll give you an example. I think our Red Romaine seed packs are $2 a pack. I apologize if I don't have the specific number because I didn't get to check first. But let's say, for example, it's either $2 or $2.50, so I apologize. For 100 seeds. But of course, like I mentioned, you always get more than 100. Our local big box store, they sell $5.98 for a 6-pack. The little, they kind of look like this, maybe a little bigger. It's a 6-pack, right? So a single 6-pack is $5.98. Inga says $2.99 each at the grocery store. Yes, I did find Butter Crunch lettuce if it's in stock at my local grocery store, and it's $2.99 just for a single head of lettuce. And that's generally to eat, not necessarily to plant. So the local big box store has a 6-pack for $5.98. So if you were to buy 100 plants, that would cost you almost $100 for 100 plants. So that's kind of pricey compared to $2 for 100 seeds. So right there, I can tell you that growing from seed is cheaper. You just look at the logistics of it, and it's really obvious. And when you look at those numbers, I would be willing to bet you can't find it cheaper growing from seed, or you can't find it cheaper. The difference is just insane. I mean, that's a big difference. So we also mentioned, Krista says, not only the cost, but they can't be the shelf life. Just walk outside and pick fresh every day. Absolutely. I'm going to get to that as well. Now, number 3 is the availability of the varieties. Somebody already mentioned it. You beat me to it. I was looking for Butter Crunch lettuce at my local big box store. Of course, I was looking online. I wasn't buying it for myself. I just wanted to discuss it during the video. I couldn't find it. And Butter Crunch lettuce is so dang easy. I don't know why they wouldn't carry it. David says, I just like watching the plants grow. Each are different. Absolutely. I'm going to get to that as well. So the uniqueness of varieties. Inga says, this is how Mary turned me into a seed hoarder. But I've seen your garden, and it's amazing. I mean, you have done a fantastic job in your garden. David, you as well. I've seen some of your pictures. So the availability of tomatoes. I would be willing to bet that if you went into a locally owned nursery or you went into a local big box store, I would be willing to bet that you can't find 100 varieties of heirloom tomato plants. But at Mary's Heirloom Seeds, we now offer over 100 varieties of heirloom tomato seeds. So the availability of unique varieties, things that you wouldn't necessarily find either on the grocery store shelf as a grown fruit or vegetable, and also things that you wouldn't necessarily find on the store shelves as a plant. You have the availability in seeds. So for those of you just joining me, welcome. If you join me regularly, welcome back. Please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Tonight we're talking about the benefits of growing from seed and why we grow from seed versus buying plants. I'm not going to bash anyone that buys plants. It's totally okay. But I also understand that it can be intimidating to grow from seed. So I want to share with you, A, the benefits of growing from seed, and B, how beneficial it can be for you, and how we can help you grow a better garden from seed. Will it grow, Mary? Do you add the cost of potting mix, heating mats, grow lights, etc.? Bill? No. And you know why? Because all of that is unnecessary. I had an interview this week with the folks at, I'm really sorry if I butcher this, Dreamweaver's Homestead. And she has a Homestead Happenings with VB on Spotify, I believe. So we discussed the benefits of growing from seed. We discussed seed starting in general. And we also discussed what is necessary to grow versus what is an extra, what is a plus. I can take a tomato seed, I can take a lettuce seed, I can plant it in the dirt outside and grow something. I don't need a grow tent, grow lights, heat mats, fans. Those are all extras. Now, if you have a shorter growing season, you also don't have to grow indoors. You can start your seeds outside if you choose the appropriate varieties for a shorter season. So I don't take into consideration all the extras because all of that is unnecessary. On my website and in the comprehensive planting guide that is in the description section of this video, you will find an article about growing a bucket garden. I created a bucket garden 100% from recycled materials. I used compost that I had grown myself. I used coconut coir that I did purchase from myself if I had to purchase it from myself. I used buckets that I had found or that I had collected or that I had recycled. So my total output for, I think it was 25 buckets, was just the coconut coir. That's the only extra that I added. Yes, you can use, you can buy potting soil. That's totally fine. But I'm pretty sure most of what I used was recycled. So I'll have to go back and double check to see if I bought potting soil specifically for that. But the main point of the bucket garden was to show you that A, you don't need to spend a fortune to grow a garden, and B, you don't need a massive amount of space or even a large yard or even growing in the ground in order to produce food. You can grow it in buckets, and it may not be pretty, it may not be the fanciest garden that you see on social media, but the point of growing food isn't to impress people on social media. It's to grow food. It's to nourish yourself. It's to be able to have fresh food that didn't come 1,500 miles to land at your grocery store so that you can eat it, so that you can purchase it. And one of the things I touched on was something that I've mentioned a couple times, and that is we see, well explained. Oh, thanks, Will It Grow. So let me touch on something, and I'm going to get back to seeds. Belinda says the garlic leaves hanging on the dirt. Should I trim them? Don't trim them. They're absolutely fine. Make sure your plants are well mulched if you have a lot of cold area coming up. Otherwise, let them be. All right, so let me touch on something that is not necessarily in the list of things I wanted to discuss tonight. I'm going a little off topic, but I feel like it's important. So you see a lot of articles, you see some information on social media, websites, all that stuff, and they're talking about food shortages. They're talking about the rising cost of food. And that's 100% why I posted a sale this week, because we are seeing major price increases in the grocery store. I went to the grocery store the other day just to look around and see what they had available. They had 0 carrots, they had 0 radish, they had a couple heads of cabbage, but normally they have a giant tray. Now, keep in mind, I'm a little more rural, so I'm not in a big city where I have access to a massive grocery store. It's a much smaller grocery store. There was 1 bag of Brussels sprouts. That's it for, it services 2 towns. So, and granted, this isn't like Houston or Dallas, this is a small area. But just looking at those store shelves and seeing them bare, it reminds you that there's a couple things going on. You've got supply chain issues. You've got weather issues that caused farmers to not necessarily have it available. Hey, Raven Cat, thanks for joining us. Hey, Inga, you may be facing in the future either the rising cost of food to where it becomes, the rural is often a predictor for food shortages. And that was what really kind of opened my eyes. But then you have issues where eggs, maybe you were buying your eggs for $3.99 last month or a couple months ago, and now they're $6.99. Maybe they've only gone up $1, but all of that adds up at the end. And if your food budget is already stretched, okay, so we have Vel. They were still empty yesterday. Valita Hickel, she's one of my friends and she lives close by. So we share the same grocery store. So if you are looking at the grand scheme of things and you are seeing that your food isn't readily available at the grocery store and you're seeing that it's going up, why not expand your garden? I'm getting emails, I'm getting private messages on social media about how can I grow my garden and spend less? How can I improve my food availability? How can I improve the way that I grow so that I can grow more? All of those things all of those questions are questions I'm happy to help you and answer. Again, that's why I sent out the email today, because I was getting a lot of questions. Raven Cat says, I got a Visa gift card, never used one before. Can I use them to order more seeds? Absolutely. Raven Cat, I know you placed a couple orders from me. You're going to use that card the same way you would a regular debit card or Visa card that you've used in the past. It's not a problem at all. And if you do have trouble, send me an email and I'll help you out. For those of you that are just joining me, I am available via email, via phone. You can send me an email. You can send me a private message on social media. You can call our office. I will answer as long as I'm here. Sometimes I'm not here because I don't sleep here. I need some rest sometimes, but sometimes I feel like I'm in here a lot. All right, so we talked about saving money by growing from seed, because honestly, it is just cheaper. We talked about the availability of unique varieties. You can't necessarily find 100 different types of heirloom tomatoes at your local big box store or nursery. Lettuce, for example, we probably have 50 varieties of lettuce almost. We've got kale, we've got collards, and they're all different, and they're all going to work better. Pamela, you're awesome about answering questions. Yes, I do try to answer questions as much as possible. Now, number 3, Valina and I were talking about today, and that's mix-ups. Sometimes you buy some tomato plants at your local big box store, and you think they're aroma tomato, and you get them home and you grow them for a couple weeks, a couple months, and you go, that's not aroma. That looks like a brandy wine, or that looks like not what I purchased. Or maybe you bought pepper plants, and maybe you wanted sweet pepper plants because your family doesn't eat hot peppers. But if you spend all that time growing those peppers and then you come to find out that that big box store, maybe there was a mistake, maybe the label got switched, maybe someone dropped something and put the wrong label on it. Now you've spent all that time growing something that maybe your family won't eat. So it becomes chicken food. If you've got little kids and they're not going to eat super hots, then what are you going to do with giant plants of beautiful super hots when you don't eat them? So one of the things that is beneficial to growing from seed is you know exactly what you're growing, because, well, unless you have little ones and they pull out your labels and put them all in different places, because I have heard that as well. But at least you know what seeds you purchased, so you can kind of go from there and figure out what you've planted. So the mix-ups are one. I've had a couple customers send me an email with pictures and they say, hey, I bought this plant. Can you tell me what it is? David says, I've had vendors that have messed up my seed packets, but that's okay. I'll grow them and give them to others. Okay, maybe you've had some mix up with other vendors. So that's one of the things that you can kind of avoid if you grow from seed. Inga says, or you have two tiny tears. So if you know me, if you follow my videos for any length of time, I've got two tiny, well, they're not tiny anymore. I had two tiny rescue kittens that we rescued at 10 days old. They were the first bottle babies I've ever had. And so they do tend to destroy stuff, which is why I can't grow from seed in the house anymore. I had a small tray of beans and I was germination testing them. Felita says we ended up with a whole lot of hot peppers that were mislabeled. The chickens were happy though. So I had this little tray and I was germination testing some beans. It's a new bean. I don't offer it for seed yet, and I want to be able to grow it. I want to be able to grow it here, save the seeds, sell the seeds next year. So I had 100% germination. I had 15 seeds, all of the seeds germinated, and the little seedlings got about a couple inches tall. So I took it off the refrigerator and I put it on the counter, and I was going to bring it in here and have it as a little backdrop. Well, my two little orange kittens decided they wanted a snack. So they ate half of the beans. So that's another reason why I tend to not grow from seed indoors. I'm growing it in a completely different place so I don't have to worry about it. All right, so my number 4 on my list is acclimation. If you are growing from seed, especially if you are planting your seeds directly in your garden, you are going to have a plant that is more acclimated to your area and is going to be, in the end, usually more healthy than a plant you bought from the store. Now, again, I'm saying usually. I'm not giving a broad general statement that it is all that. Yes, those kitties are bad, but we love them very much. And I'm really glad that they survived and we were able to keep them. Ravencat Homestead, if you have any questions on how to grow a seed, and Mary's email and she can send you a list of what to do. Yes, Ravencat, you have emailed me a few times and I've answered all your questions, so I appreciate that. Courtney says orange kitties are just naughty. They are. Anyway, we love them though. I have never raised kittens from tiny teeny babies. They were 6 ounces and 8 ounces and their mama died. So my husband said we got to do something, and so we contacted the local gentleman who had them and brought them home, and they have been I call them tiny kittens, and now I call them tiny terrors because they are kind of terrorizing the house. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing, but they keep me on my feet. So back to seeds. Acclimation. When you bring a plant home that is from a big box store or a nursery, chances are it has been treated a little differently than, no, don't go there. We don't go there. They're our babies. So they are generally raised under optimal conditions. So they're in a greenhouse. They have been tended to. They have been babied for a very long time. And then they get home, and unless you give them that same type of treatment, and in that same environment, okay, thank you, I appreciate it. They are not acclimated to your garden. So you might go to the big box store and buy these beautiful seedlings, but they may have been grown in a completely different state, region, environment. So, I mean, would a plant that is grown from seed in Washington state do well in Texas, or Texas to New York? Maybe, maybe not. So if you grow it from seed, it is used to your climate, it is used to your garden, it is used to whatever type of weather that you have. And you don't necessarily have to harden them off if you're planting it directly in your garden. So during the chat we had when I was interviewed at Homestead Happenings with VB, she asked about hardening off. Now, if you're growing it in a greenhouse outside, there is a lot less hardening off that needs to be done. If you're growing it in a indoor grow tent or closet under lights, and it has a little more moderate climate and it's not going up and down like it does outside, then you have a little more issues with hardening off. Adira says, just shared this love live to 59 individuals. Thank you. I appreciate it. We have this awesome community of home gardeners, and I love to share as much information as possible. So the acclimation is the other one. And let me tell you something. If you go to the big box store and you buy a plant for $10 and you bring it home and you plant it outside and it dies the first week you're out there, that's a bummer. It really is. I would be so upset and frustrated. Krista says, that's how I found Mary's. I purchased seeds from random suppliers. It wasn't until I realized those seeds were better. See, there you go. And not only that, but I grow in Texas. I've grown in Southern California, and I've grown in Southern Florida. So I have a little bit of information. I've grown in zone 10, zone 9, zone 8. And I will tell you this, I am not the be all end all expert on everything seeds and gardening, but I will try to help you. I do know a lot. I do know a lot of random facts about seeds and gardens. But the bottom line is I do try to help. So bear with me here. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. So, and last but certainly not least is increasing your crop yields with succession planting. So if you buy that pack of seeds, say we're going to go back to lettuce, and say you have 100 or you have 200 seeds. Maybe you don't want to plant 100 seeds right now, but you can plant them throughout the year at different times, and you don't have to go back and buy more plants. So maybe you plant 50 seeds in spring, and you get 50 plants, and you harvest them from there, and it gets hot, and your lettuce bolts. It produces little flowers, and you can save the seeds from those. And then come fall, you can plant the rest of that seed pack, and you didn't have to go back to the store and buy more plants. So the succession planting is another option for you. That is awesome. There are bulk options of seeds now available at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. They are listed under sprouting seeds. You can grow them like you would a regular plant. Listed under microgreens, you'll find black oil sunflower. It's the same exact variety that we sell in a single pack, but these are bulk packs. You've got different types of onions. You've got American flag leek, red burgundy onion. There's a bunching onion as well. So those are the same exact varieties that you would buy in a single pack, but now we have them available as a bulk pack. So if you are wanting to grow a massive amount of food, or you just want to grow a small tray of microgreens, either one of those is great. And I've got a video on growing microgreens. I went outside, I trimmed some, and I showed you how to do it, and we've eaten them so many times. It's great. Onion microgreens are a game changer. If you don't want to wait 110 days for onions, you can trim those microgreens. You can pull the whole thing up, or you can just trim it and put it on a salad, put it in your food, and it gives you a mild onion flavor. Not the big flavor that you get from a whole onion, but it's still pretty good. So there's a lot of different options of growing from seed that you have. If you don't have a garden, you can grow microgreens. That's another option for you. When I was at the Yellow Green Farmers Market in Hollywood, Florida, this was back in 2012, there was this guy that came out and he brought a big cooler, and it was full of sunflower greens, microgreens, and I used to buy a bag from him every weekend, because of course, the vendors, we all wanted to share, we support each other. So I would buy some food from this person and some veggies from this person and some microgreens from this person. So it was a really cool community. Speaking of communities, you guys mentioned. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going back to read. I missed your comments. Let's see. I'm using a stepladder to stack my trays. I've grown in Michigan, West Virginia, Indiana, and Alabama. Awesome. Lettuce seeds coming up. Onion microgreens. Absolutely. Pamela, if you haven't seen the video of it, I would definitely check it out. It was so easy. David said, I'm still learning how to grow bulb onions and more green tops than bulbs. Yeah, so let me touch on that really quick since we're talking about seeds, and then I'm going to sign off for the night. If you are interested in growing onions from seed, you want to make sure you choose the right onion seed variety. So you have three types of onions. We're gonna leave out the leeks. So you have short day, you have intermediate, and you have long day. Indira says, I tried to grow microgreens. The hard part was starting in the dark. Microgreens are $6 a cup. Oh my goodness. So you want to make sure if you're growing microgreens indoors, you provide a fan, because that will help you with the mold. Definitely check out, I'm sure there's other videos on it. I was growing microgreens outside. So that's a little bit of a difference. They have a natural flow. So let me get back to onions. So if you look at the map of the United States, the short day onions are the south. The intermediate day onions are the center. And then, hey, Denise in San Diego. And then the long day onions are the top northern portion of the U.S. So I can't speak to worldwide, but I can give you some information on which varieties to grow in the U.S. So I'm in the South. I've grown in the South, like I mentioned, Southern California, Southern Florida, and now East Texas, but that's still the South. So you want to make sure you choose the right onion. So for my area, I'm going to plant short day onions. They do the best. They will do the best as far as growing and bulbing in your area. Intermediate is kind of that middle area. You can kind of go back and forth. If you're in the South, you might be able to grow intermediate as well. You can pretty much grow leeks and bunching onions in all of the three regions. And then, like I mentioned, the northern region is the long day onions. And if you're not sure, you can go to marysheirloomseeds.com. You can go to our onion section, and on the right hand side, you can hit the little sort button, and it will allow you to choose what type you want. And then you can kind of narrow down your search. Instead of looking at 10 or 20 different onion varieties and going, I'm lost, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to leave it and not do anything. So just so you know, bunching onions are the easiest, most likely for you, if you're new to onions. And then bulbing onions, you want to choose the one that is best suited for your region. Ta-da! Something new, maybe. Maybe you, I'm sure, David, you already know. But for those of you that are newer to seeds, that might be helpful for you in the future if you're choosing the right onion. Alrighty, everybody. I am going to sign off. It has been an amazingly long day today. I am still in the seed shop, and it is 5:30, and I think I got out here when it was just getting light outside. So I'm finally done for the day. I hope you enjoyed my weekly live chat. Next week, I should be back to regular schedule, which is Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. If you have any questions, you can always send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. You can also reach out on our social media pages and all that fun and awesome stuff. And thank you again for joining me, and happy planting, everyone.